Thank you to
you stand there for
stand in front of a camera. I hate my picture being taken. Thank you very much for asking me to speak. So my talk is a role on photography and social media in biological recording. And as we've seen in the last couple of talks, is the role of photography is really, really important. So I'd like to start off with the fact that I've spent 11 years, I'm in my 11th year of recording the insects of a very small urban park in South London called Warwick Gardens. It's just a normal park, no sort of fancy planting or anything like that. And I spent the first year deciding to just photograph everything that moved. And what unfolded was, I actually was very good at taking photographs of things that fly with compound eyes. And I got really, really involved in the story about how things, what was there, what moved, you know, and how important actually digital photography was in the fact that I could take 500 pictures on constant shutter speed and get one in focus, which really helps, especially when it's small and flies. I use a macro lens, but also I've been seeing the quality of photography that's coming out of phones nowadays, iPhones and things like that. And my job is to I feel, is to encourage people to take pictures of insects. Just, you know, this all helps with finding out what's there. Oh. It's my favorite figwork weevil. And as I've developed my project, it's really important for me to get the best picture of the insect that I possibly can. So this little guy, I photographed him loads of times, but this was the photograph that made me go, this is the character of a figwork weevil. My ambition is to move insect photography into portrait photography. And I think a wonderful aim would be to do an exhibition at the National Portrait Gallery of insects, because I just want to show to people how beautiful they are, how interesting they look, how odd they look. Especially when you get down to very tiny blue wasps with big, bright red eyes. That was quite an interesting one to find. They're really tiny. And also things like this is the thick-legged flower beetle covered in pollen. And I very much use this photograph in talks to say to people, it's not just bees that pollinate. Our beetles are really good at it as well. And this is all in my park, you see. This gives me a different view of Peckham, which can be quite rough. And then my favourite insect, well, actually people say to me, what's your favourite insect? And it's like, today it will be like hairy-footed flower bee, tomorrow it will be like long-winged conehead. The gasteruption jaculator, I think they've been called dagger wasps now, because the problem is that I learned all the Latin names, and then all these new books are coming out with common names, and I'm having to try and work out which is which. So this is a little tiny wasp that I love. And this is the thing about what you can capture in photographs, because I've been watching her sticking her ovipositor in scissor bee nests. And I thought this is what I can do with photography. It's not a movie. I took these as stills. And it gives you this great example of what this little wasp does. Again, Astata boops, one of the nicer, I mean, who names wasps? You know, gasteruption jaculator, Astata boops. They're great. Field bug hunting wasp. It took me 5 years to get this photograph, because the good thing about surveying something constantly is that, I mean, I go every day to this park between March and October. And every year you get to learn what's in there, what comes, what lives there, what visits. So a starter boot lives amongst the brambles. And I've often see her and her boyfriend, well, her partner, usually guards the nest in the ground. And I was standing there one day and I'd watched her, and there was a shield bug further up the stem. And I watched her and she caught it, and I was there with my camera. She landed on a leaf, conveniently a leaf without, you know, sort of like hairs, and it wasn't in the middle of, I got a flat surface, so I should get the absolute perfect image of, with nice bokeh around it, to just not to distract. So there she is, paralysing her shield bug. And I've got to the point now where I'm finding insects that I've got the best possible photograph of, so I don't have to photograph them again, I just need to check they're there. But how do I know what these insects are? So when I first started, which is 2011, I think there was only Flickr. Or if you were lucky and you had an insect identification book, or you knew someone, you would email someone and say, what's this beetle, or what's this? And you'd get a reply. And it's only in the last sort of 5 or 6 years, I think it is, that we've now got Facebook. And we have all these amazing groups on Facebook. So if you've got a picture of a ladybird, you put it in Ladybirds of the UK, and she's got 2.2 thousand members. I think we need to get UK aphids, psyllids, and scales and allies up. We've only got 231 members, so I reckon we should do a campaign to get everyone to be looking at really tiny insects. As you can see, I think all this is really good. I mean, we've got the UK hoverflies, it's 5.9 thousand members. And when you start going through these groups, you realise that the amount of people who are, you know, I mean, we've got loads of them. UK hemiptera, grasshoppers, terrestrial true bloods, ichneumons, bees, wasps, ants, 15.8 thousand members, which heartens me as a wasp lover. Butterflies, 12,000 members for 57 species, that's massive. Moths UK, but my two favourite is Moths UK Flying Tonight, which I found to be the most useful to me when I put my moth trap up. I'm thinking, okay, what do I plan to see? You go in there and everyone's like, I found this and saw that and this is happening. These groups are such important resources, I think, that we have at the moment. My only worry is what happens when Mark Zuckerberg pulls the plug, because then we're lost. There we are, sort of a thing. Someone's going out. I thought, you know, we've got people here who are questioning what epistrophes are, some kind of nomad bee. I like these groups. You put a picture in there, someone comes back to you with an answer. A lot easier than sometimes looking through a book. There we are. We've got hemiptera. We've got you see, Latin names again. Can't pronounce any of them. Beetles. I think these are glorious, but these are things. And what's really nice about these groups is they're for people who aren't specialists. And so when people find stuff or photograph stuff, they send it to me. I say, ask, put it in a group. Join UK hemiptera and see if you get an answer. Now, I like Flickr. Again, I do wake up in the middle of the night thinking, what happens if they pull the plug on Flickr? Because it's not a popular site anymore. It's a bit old, it's a bit like MySpace. Do you remember that? And Friends Reunited. It should be Bugs Reunited, because actually Flickr is really good. I mean, here, it gives me a timeline. It means that I can look, in May the 13th, 2013, I saw black-headed cardinal beetle. And indeed, that was the last time I saw it. So I have my own personal record of what I'm seeing in the park. And it means that I can move backwards and forwards and sort of go, okay, what's that for? And I quite like I like that idea. Again, at the moment, it's bee time. It's nomad bees, which are always can be quite tricky to ID. So I just put in nomad bee, and up comes my photographs. But I can also look around and see what other people have put up. Helps me with my ID. And if I'm still not sure, I can pop it into the UK Bees, Wasps and Ants in Facebook group. And I will come back and answer, I can guarantee within about 20 minutes. As we heard, this is a nomad Goodeniana. And the only reason I know it's that is because it cuckoos this lovely bee here, the Andrena nativa. Now, it's taken me years to remember the names of all these and to recognize them. But then we get to a problem like this. We've got this thick-headed fly, one of my favorite flies, Myopa pellucida, or is it a Myopa tesselitacta? You see, I can't pronounce it even after all these years. So when I first wanted to find out what this fly was, because it did look so strange and so weird, and believe me, on Twitter, he's called the cartoon dog. They came back saying I would have to catch one, kill it, and stick it under the microphone and get its genitals out. And I was a bit like, no, I'm not going to do that. And there's two reasons for that, is that I only ever see two, and they're always looking like that. And then I was thinking, I'm not a specialist. I'd like to know what it is in my own personal level, but I see my job is getting people at a base level interested in insects. And I just need to show people that this is actually a thick-headed fly. They don't need to know the second bit of the Latin name. It's a thick-headed fly. It's a cartoon dog. It's Fido. It's the fly that looks like a dog. And so I understand why I would have to catch it, to stick it under a microscope. But I personally I prefer just to leave them as they are and just to say, isn't it gorgeous? And I'm so glad it's there. We're in the middle of an insect apocalypse. And every year when I go and survey my park and I look through Flickr and look at what I saw last year, and I still see the same insects, there's part of me is like, phew. Sometimes you get new ones. Yesterday I saw a red girdled mining bee, which is new to my park, something to look out for again. The same with this spider. It's a lichen running spider. And so when I put that into the spider group to ask for an ID, I came back going, well, you need to send me a dead specimen. It's like, okay. They said the best time to look for them at night. It's like, okay. So I dressed up with a balaclava, a torch, and gingerly made my way into Warwick Gardens at night, which is what you don't do, because there's usually dodgy people hanging around. I did it for 3 nights, and on the 3rd night I had to get someone to come with me, because there was a guy hanging around, and I'm a bit like, I don't like this, I'm just looking for a spider. I never found another one, but I have a photographic evidence of a lichen. It's a Philodroma species. That's all I need to know. The good thing about also being into insects is you get your friends sending you stuff, especially moth pictures. I get lots of moth pictures sent to me. Hey, what the fuck is this? Oh, wolf and so ice cream. And I never see hawk moths. I mean, it's a standing joke amongst moth friends of mine that I only ever see the popular hawk moth. So when I get going, oh, elephant hawk moth, lucky you, never seen one. Lucky bastard. And they keep coming, you know. So I think social media and photography, whatever, you know, again, these are taken by people with pictures on their phones. And I think this is a great example about photography and social media in engagement, because I don't really want to see any more of this, where you've got dead species being sold for 20 quid or £4.50 with a pin stuck through them. I think we need to move away from Victoriana and into the future. But the thing that does worry me, and it was something that was brought up earlier about passwords to collections, is what happens when you lose all your digital data, because it can be done. So just a little plug. I wrote a little book. If you want to see my pictures, they're on Instagram, Twitter, and Flickr. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And we've got one of the workshops this afternoon is on photography, so I think we'll be picking up some of those points in that workshop, hopefully, for those of you who are doing that one. We could have time for a question. Are there, since I went in the room first last time, is there any question online this time? Perhaps Dan can chip in.
Yeah, I'm here. I think the only real question I've got from online is just about the equipment that Penny uses. Is there, I'm assuming you probably use quite a lot of different cameras and stuff. Is there anything on your Flickr that says what equipment you use, or do you want to outline it quickly?
So if people want to know how you get those amazing images, you know, what technology, what cameras you're using, is there?
I use a digital DSLR, cheap one with a good lens. I use a 50mm macro lens, and actually it's all about patience and thinking yourself invisible. Because if you can think yourself invisible, the insect won't see you. That's my, but a lot of it is down to knowing where your insect is, keep going back to the same place, and just patience. And if you're lucky, you can get at some decent shots.
The good old-fashioned field crab.
It is, yeah.
And taking 500 shots for
500 shots for the one in focus.
So, yeah, thank you very much.